Let me ask you, I mean, yes, you suggested that the federal government and the states need to sit down together. But if you look at some of the agencies, NEMA, federal, hydrological services, federal, many of these agencies are at the federal level. So we don't seem to see as much effect in the states. But we've also seen some states when they have either erosion or challenges environmentally, they usually say, as you see on TV and the news, that it's beyond their capacity. So is it that they don't seem to be doing enough, or they just don't have the wherewithal to tackle these challenges?
I believe it's a combination of both. Because even when you look at the erosion problem, those states that initially thought they don't have the capacity, with the federal government-led project called NEMA, that has helped a number of states to have initial drive and a lot of resources put in, many of these states eventually ended up putting in a lot of counterpart funding, with which a lot of erosion problems have been solved. So that's the type of approach that is needed. Even in case of NEMA, there are also state-level equivalents of this NEMA called STEMA, State Environment, Emergency Management Agency. The issue of Nigeria is not capacity. The issue of Nigeria, not only in the environment, in all other aspects of our life, is utilization of the capacity. When you go to these services, I'm sure many of them will tell you they have nothing to do. They are trained, well-qualified hydrologists and all the rest, who should be able to help us to manage them. I think we need to go back to the drawing board, put all these things together, and see how we can really help to address these issues comprehensively. Engineer
Nze, you've heard from the Prof in the studio. I mean, do you agree with all that he has said? And have you perhaps had any challenge in, your agency carrying out its duties?
Yes, I quite agree totally with the professor. The issues often have to do with the state governments. For instance, let me put it on record. We feel sad at the agency where we make a prediction that flooding will take place in social places and will destroy a lot of things, and such predictions come to pass. We don't feel happy that things like that happen. We expected that after predicting it, let the relevant state governments take measures to ensure that this does not come to pass, or it will be quite minimal. Now, the contribution of water that comes from outside Nigeria through rivers Niger and Benue is not quite significant compared to the water we have within Nigeria, which we can detain, which we can arrest in some locations for agricultural purposes and so many other issues. By the time River Niger leaves Nigeria, enters into the Atlantic Ocean, the amount of water is over 200 billion cubic meters of fresh water that is wasted. Whereas what comes into Nigeria, both from rivers Niger and Benue, is maybe about 64 billion cubic meters of fresh water. Where come the rest? They all come from within Nigeria. The state governments have been advised over and over again to create detention ponds, reservoirs, arrest these waters passing through your territories. Instead of causing havoc by way of flooding, destroying property, you can use it for irrigation. It will recharge the aquifer. It will cool the environment. It can form, those environments will form like an educational center, like what we have in Abuja, where they call Jabi Lake. So our advice, the agency's advice is this: the relevant government, state governments that are always implicated in the flooding scenarios we predict should take necessary actions ahead of time.
Yeah, let me ask you, I mean, this sounds good.
I'm commending Channel Television for
thank you,
bringing this program at this point in time when there is dry season.
I'm just wondering, because, I mean, your suggestions sound good, but why do you think the states don't seem to take the kind of steps you like to see them take?
From time to time, I'm on air. I won't want to mention some names or some states where even when we tell them we are coming to sensitize the state ahead of time because of what we have predicted, they will ask us to come with the relief materials. Which is to say, it is like they are more interested in having damages, destructions, and then calling for assistance from relevant agencies like NEMA, than utilizing resources within the states to ensure that steps are taken to prevent or reduce the impact of flooding as predicted. They don't see it as, so they don't see it as something so important to invest money. Either to clear their gutters at the right time, to deseed some canals, build some barriers, levees, that will prevent the flooding to occur. But in this instance, I'm talking about there are two types of flood I'm speaking about. The urban flooding. Maybe once the rainfall could happen about 1 hour or so within the town, within the community. And then the river flooding through the major rivers in Nigeria. This is unpredictable, and they are warned. States that are supposed to take action at times don't take any step. This is the right time to prepare, clear your drainages, warn the communities that are living within the river banks. Make provision for them, let them go to higher grounds. Secure places for them. Actually, it's not easy for people to leave their ancestral lands or homes and dwell elsewhere. Some years back, I learned that the Niger state government had what they call wet housing and dry housing. That they built houses upland so that during the rainy season, the people living within the river banks will go to the higher grounds where they have built the dry housing and go and be staying there and be visiting the banks of the river for their business. During the dry season, they will go back to the river, around the river bank to stay in those houses. So the states should take it as very, very important to make provision for their citizens to avoid this perennial flooding, leaving a lot of disasters on its throes.
Okay, Engineer Nze, hold on a moment. Prof, I mean, looking at all of this, sadly, some have attributed this to some, I mean, inflaming the security challenges like the farmers and the herders, and then we have food shortage, food security situation. Yeah. I mean, will we still put the blame at the government, federal, state, local?
Well, I want to make one important point. We seem to focus so much on what the state, the federal will do. But we are dealing with a system. Our river systems don't know state boundaries. They are natural systems. The rains don't know whether they are raining in Sokoto State or Katsina State. The system produces the rain, and it must lead to water flowing into certain rivers. These rivers are natural systems. Therefore, it is not a question of talking about one state doing one to another. It is a question of, for the first time, perhaps in the history of this country, we work together as a unit, as a system, in which the federal and all the states that are usually affected work together, develop and implement a comprehensive national program in which the roles and responsibilities of all that is involved will be clearly stated. Otherwise, we'll continue to talk about it. Even in the national, in other areas, in agriculture, as much as we want to revitalize agriculture, if the floods continue to disturb our farmers, there's a limit to what they can do. Many of the farmers who try to produce a lot of rice, I just went to Kebbi area, many of them are complaining that they had to get their rice waterlogged for so many days. Although there's now new technology where rice can survive after nearly 14 days underwater. But we haven't got that in Nigeria. So we need to look at all this very well to see how we help the farmers to develop systems that can fight the flood, that can make things clear, to make water available even for animal points, where herders can drink this water. If we are losing about 200 million cubic meters of water going to the sea that doesn't really need the water, can't we tap that water and use it to create a lot of
but Prof, I mean,
pastures can grow?